Hi everyone! So Season 4 has been out for a little while, and the most common complaint I hear from people all the time is, how do I get gold? I'm constantly broke. And I gotta say, I feel you. So after blasting 2 rogues to 100 and farming the pit and farming the Helltides and whatever, I'm sitting here with like 150 million gold, and people think that's a lot. And I have like my items masterwork to like 4 and 6 and 5 and maybe 1 to 8 or so. And that's pretty much about it. Turns out the gold cost for all this stuff is quite substantial, and you really want to make sure to get as much as possible. Because if you look at this, for example, masterworking, for example, a rank 4 item already costs 450k gold per pop, including the mats. So that also is part of the deal. And then, for example, masterworking a rank 8 item is 2 million for going to rank 9. And I think the last rank is like 10 million from 11 to 12. And that's just one try, because originally we expected that we would be able to, like, just farm the pit, farm those materials, and masterwork our gear over and over until we get the right masterwork crits on the right stats. Because sometimes there is stuff that is just kind of useless. So, for example, here on my pants, I hit the poison res, and I was already poison res capped anyway, so I don't want to increase that stat, of course. In that case, I would have to reset that thing, which, by the way, also costs 5 million gold. So now is the question, how do you actually get all that gold? And it turns out, well, it's just not really all that fast. I've done a bit of testing here. So last night I tried this out on like a pretty fast build. I was playing Barrage Rogue, and I tried to do Whispers in order to get that gold. Whisper caches were designed to give you a lot of gold. So that's kind of like the easy way out here. But it turns out you can't really farm that much of it. So I timed this a little bit, and if you go for only good whispers and don't really waste your time on like these 1 whisper objectives, complete a random event in the middle of nowhere that you spent like 3 minutes on, then you can farm something like around 1 million gold per minute or so. So this is kind of like my finding here, at least. So for example, always going for like the triple whispers like Harvest or these rituals, or sometimes, world bosses give you 5. Sometimes the legions give you 3, and they can, rush there towards the end of the legion, spend like 2 minutes, and these kind of things. So if you do like a whisper turn in really quickly in around 6 minutes, then you can expect something like 50, 60 million gold per hour farming whispers. Now that is not really such a crazy amount, but it does kind of do the trick in order to get enough gold to masterwork an item close to rank 12, for example. But it is still quite a grind if you think that you have like 9 to 13 gear slots or so, depending on the class and build. So you have to kind of expect a whisper grinding of roughly 10 hours or so, or maybe a bit more, per gear setup, per build that you're trying to masterwork to rank 12. So it's quite a substantial amount after all. So what this means is that you generally want to be very smart about choosing the items that you want to masterwork. You can definitely try to masterwork them to like 4 or maybe 8. If it's like some decent item like this bow here, for example, it doesn't have a greater affix, but it has a really high roll on my main stat, the Heartseeker projectiles, and has generally all the stats that I want. So it's okay to masterwork this up a little bit, but I would not go beyond 8, for example, on this bow, because I will replace it at some point with 0 greater affixes. That will happen at some point. So I'm kind of just like saving up now for a better weapon, and then eventually I will take that and try to masterwork it. And it's kind of the same story with some of these other items that I have here. They have like maybe 1 greater affix, but not really perfect rolls, or they're missing like a certain thing. So you don't want to like over invest into some of these. Getting to like rank 4 is a pretty easy thing to do, and then it gets costlier and costlier, and then each rank that they try to increase on all of your gear just becomes so much more of an obstacle. So what I actually did is that I mostly upgraded them all to 4, and then 1 by 1 all together. So I did like 4 to get like the first masterwork crit on all of them, and then I did like 5, 5, 5, and then 6, 6, 6, and so on. Until, I kind of like decided, okay, let's boost the weapon a little bit because it's the most important one here, and leave the rest where it is. Not only that, but you also kind of want to minimize the spending on some of the other gold things that are in the game, namely imprinting. Imprinting has become much easier now with the Codex of Power, just like saving all of your aspects, and you can always like change it and so on. But for example, imprinting this chest piece here is 330k gold. So that is not like a ridiculous amount, but for example, if you're like constantly swapping back and forth between farming some Helltides and then farming some pits and then farming some bosses, you might want to try to make your setup like overall like working in every content basically, so you don't have to swap around aspects too much, or maybe have like, you know, a backup pair of boots that have a movement aspect or something like that, which is usually what I put in my planners for like a speed farming version, for example. So I wouldn't really like try to re-imprint stuff all the time depending on the content you're doing. Go with like one setup and don't waste your gold and mats on re-imprinting, especially for the easier stuff like Helltides. Now, when it comes to actually farming those whispers, some tips I can give you is that you should always go for the bigger whispers. So first of all, you should always skip the dungeons. While they give you 5 grim favors, the dungeons just take too long, even if you're pretty fast. You have to run there, you have to go through it, you don't really get any loot in there. Sometimes it may be a nightmare dungeon, that could be worth it if you still want to level a glyph or something like that. Then if you happen to have a sigil, or maybe craft like a handful of sigils and try your luck. But in a grand scheme of things, I do not recommend doing the dungeon whispers, even though they give 5. So they just take too long for, you know, what you would actually get out of them. So what I really like to do is harvest whispers. So those are by far the best in my opinion, because you can usually combine them with some other whispers. So for example here, you go to Cat Badu, you write down, then you can do this seller here right away. Even if it has an event in there, it takes like a minute or so. And an event can also drop you extra loot, extra boss materials. So it's kind of nice these days to do the sellers when there's a whisper. And then you can go, for example, for this corpse thing. So you can do this corpse event here that usually gives you a bunch of kills for the harvest. And if you're not too close to finishing the harvest, maybe do the second one. There's another one here, or you do the event there. I wouldn't really do these one whisper events that often if there's no harvest nearby, unless you kind of like ride past it. Like you go down there or anyway, let's say, and you ride straight through this one. Yeah, I would probably do it. But usually you just try to do something on the way to filling that harvest objective. And then you go there, do this thing, and you come out with like 6-7 grim favors completed in like 2-3 minutes or so. Kind of similar story here. If you look at those Kyrgyzstan whispers right now, for example, there's again a harvest here, and we have also rituals. I like doing rituals because you just kind of have to like ride around. There's like one here, one there, one here or something. And maybe you can try to also combine this with like a route straight through, for example, this corpse there. So you can do this corpse, get your harvest deposit here, and then get like 3 whispers, 6, 7, and then you just leave the area again. And you can do this also in like 3 minutes or so. So sometimes this is really fast when you ride around, just trying to combine a few of those whispers, do like 1 or 2 of these corpses, or do like you know, slay objective here. But you know, you wouldn't really like ride over from this harvest, then all the way, get those 20 skeletons or 20 scorpions, and then right over here to do this other corpse. It's just too far. And if you don't complete another bigger objective meanwhile, it's just not really worth it. So usually you always have at least one of those 3 grim favor objectives here, like the harvest or the rituals, sometimes even both. It can happen that there's none of them. In that case, I probably wouldn't go there at all unless you're really desperate for gold. But those 1 grim favor objectives just kind of like are not really good enough most of the time on their own, so I would really stay away from those. And going by that strategy, you can kind of clean up the entire world map in like 15 to maybe 20 minutes or so, just going around, you know, spending 3-4 minutes here, and then spending 3-4 minutes there, and 3-4 minutes here, and so on. And you go through all of the areas, and you have completed like 3 turn-ins, maybe 4 turn-ins, or something like that. Some other really good whispers that you can do occasionally are also the PvP whispers. There's like one where you get 5 and you kill the abomination, and then get 3 for purifying. Purifying might be a bit tricky depending on the server population, if there's a lot of stuff going on in the PvP zone, but at least just TPing there, killing the abomination really quick, that is really good. So at least on hardcore that is very consistent because no one goes there on hardcore. But even on softcore you can try to just TP there, see if like you can do it. This whisper only turns up like every few days or so. So it's like a really nice 5 grim favors really quickly, but you have to wait a long time for them to respawn. And lastly, there's the Helltide stuff. So one thing I can also really recommend is every time you see the Blood Maiden, you want to go there and do it. So try to remember where those Blood Maiden spawns are. So for example, here in the Fracture Peaks one, I think it's like somewhere around here in this area. You can only see it when you're kind of close. And every time there is like one of those Blood Maiden objectives, I would definitely go there and do it. It's a kind of long whisper event, However, it's quite valuable in general. So especially if you contribute a heart, you get a lot of loot, you get a bunch of cinders, you can maybe open a chest and so on. So it's kind of like a nice package. I would always do the Blood Maiden. And in general, if you're still farming Helltide at level 100, which I guess you would kind of stop doing at some point generally, but it may be okay to also go there sometimes when there's also other whispers. So for example here in this Helltide, there are normal whispers on top of the Helltide stuff. So again, here's a harvest, for example. So you can go there, do the Blood Maiden, collect your harvest stuff, turn this in, maybe do a corpse on the way, and suddenly have another Grim Favor turn in. Another thing to be a bit smart about is also like that you don't want to overcap your Grim Favor sometimes. So you always see here at the bottom you have those Grim Favor counter. So now it says 1 out of 10. And if you reach 10, then you have to go back to the Whispers tree and then you have to turn it in. However, if you're, for example, at 9 and then you complete a harvest that gives you 3, you're going to be at 12. And those extra 2 will be saved for the next round. So sometimes it may actually be worth to try to like do the right order of those Whispers so that you don't have to TP yet again. So it always takes time. You have to go through the loading screens, you have to come back and so on. So it may be worth, for example, you know, if I'm arriving here and I have, let's say, 7 out of 10, then I do the corpse, then I do the event, but I may not go into the cellar because I will be at 9. And instead I just go to the harvest, finish this, I'm at 12, I go turn in, and I leave the area. So in that case, you know, you would have to go to the cellar, TP, turn it in, because you're gonna hit the cap, and then you have to come back, go through another loading screen, and go here, and that also doesn't really make it worth it. So you want to kind of check where you are with your Grim Favors and make sure you don't waste your time teleporting too much. Now, on top of all of this, there is also the option to actually sell gold to the vendors. So that's actually what I've been doing as well a lot. So whenever I had an inventory of items, you can just mark them here with space, for example, like this. And at least when you don't want to extract any legendary powers anymore, then you can just go to the vendor and sell them. And you see they actually give a lot of gold here. An individual legendary item can be like 50k gold, 80k gold, 100k gold. It's quite a bit that comes out of this. You have like 33 slots in the inventory. If you sell an entire inventory of legendaries, that can be like 2-3 million gold or so. That's like almost one regular Whisper turn-in or so, or half of a Chaos Cache. So this is actually pretty valuable. And even yellow items, I actually started picking them up again and just insta-mark them for trash and just vendor them every time I go back to town. Yellows are generally not worth as much as legendaries, but they are still kind of fine. And you can get like 20k, 30k, 50k gold or so per yellow as well. So even a full inventory of yellows can be something like 1 million or so gold. This is also valuable when you're just, for example, farming Helltides. In Helltides, there's a lot of loot dropping, and I would just constantly pick up all the items and then mark them immediately. Everything that's not legendary, you can just mark them because you would never use them. You just vendor them. And then maybe the legendaries you break down if you still need a bunch of materials. But at some point, you just don't need more mats. I have like 1,000 or 2,000 of everything. And that is plenty. That will never run out, basically, at this point. Unless I go really ham on like tempering and upgrading and all that. But if you ever run low on these materials, it's easy to get them again. So I wouldn't worry about it. So those two things are basically the main way to acquire gold in the game currently. Now you do get a bit of gold from just like running pits and running nightmare dungeons. I think there's like some extra reward at the end, but it doesn't really add up to that much. So it's mostly whispers whenever they are ready. And as I said, you can maybe farm them for like 15, 20, maybe 30 minutes or so at a time. And then you have to kind of wait until they respawn. They respawn every 1.5 hours per zone. So it's like rotating around basically on that timer. And every around 1.5 hours or so, you could try to do like another round throughout the entire map and complete some of the good whispers. And of course, there is the last option, which is also trading. So if you happen to find a really good item, you can also try to get gold from other people. Now, of course, we don't actually produce gold, so someone else has to farm that gold then. But it is also another option. And on that occasion, I also want to give a shout out to my sponsors, the Crimson Market. They have been with us for a while already. There's also Rax, for example, and they have built this pretty awesome Diablo 4 trading platform here that I want to show off real quick. So if you want to try to buy or sell an item, you can go here. You can use the new updated magic search where you just type any stat or item name or anything you want really, and you can filter for it right here. There's no like drop down filters. You just type, for example, here vulnerable damage glove, or rapid fire glove or whatever, or like a certain unique item, for example, and you can go and filter for it. All you have to do is set your mode, so hardcore, softcore, season eternal, and that is it. And then you can just trade here. You can connect, for example, your Discord account and have your messages there. So I've been using that in the past as well to try to buy and sell certain items, and it has been working pretty well, despite me playing hardcore and the hardcore economy being rather dead. They have also connected this trading site with my Discord, for example, and other Discords, and I think they're on a lot of different Discords in the Diablo community with those trading channels, and they are all synced among each other and with the trading site as well. So I can directly go and type something here on the Discord and have, for example, you know, an offer here, and then use these commands, and this will all link together with the trading platform. So pretty easy and a very nice tool in order to get the items you want. Finally, the Crimson Market also has their loyalty club where they do regular big giveaways and offer some extra perks for their members. So there's a lot of stuff that they're working on right now, they've told me, but in the past they've been giving away these PCs here, and they're already working on the next one. These are some massive machines, and they are like custom built, themed around some cool new stuff. So in the past they've done, for example, the last E-Clock. I think Rex was doing the giveaway for that one. And a while ago they did this blood reactor for the Season of Blood. So we pulled the winner there. And just last Saturday, actually, we did this one here, this like the tiniest PC ever, basically. That is like a gaming machine, and also has like a screen attached to it. So they're always like trying to come up with some new cool theme and doing some cool new PC basically every month for their loyalty members. So you can subscribe to that and have a chance to win those. Or you can also earn points from, for example, connecting your Steam account here, earn loyalty points there. I think there's also more ways to get them, for example, through participation on their site and on the Discord. I have a link to the Crimson Market here in the description, so you can go check them out and start trading right away. And that also concludes this video here. So hope you enjoyed this. I wish you good luck with your Season 4 grind. I try to give the best input I can about getting gold, how to do it, how to do the whispers, how to do the trade, etc. So hope this helps. Maybe Blizzard will fix this a little bit as well, because I feel like the gold grind is a little bit too harsh right now, to be honest, with especially whispers also being like the easiest content by far in the game. I want to spend time in the pit and not running around on a horse necessarily. But okay, this is what we got for now. Anyway, hope this helps you. Wish you good luck and see you guys next time.